Hi there, I'm Jeff Bishop. I'm the co-founder of RagingBull.com. I'm one of the top real money options traders.
Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. I put a brat in timeout, entitled Mom Wants to Sue. And after that, when Karen used disabled students against me, she didn't expect this. Now Karen assured me if we can get 1,000 likes on this video, she won't try suing anyone else for an entire week. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And by the way, join as an official member of the Re-Army today and I'll give you a special shout out in our next video. I put a brat in timeout, entitled Mom Wants to Sue. About 5 years ago, when I was 20, I used to work as a yard supervisor at the local elementary school while I was on break from college. Wasn't much, but I'd get at least a month's worth of work in the summer and then a week in the winter. They were super lenient with my hours, probably because they tended to be short-handed, and also my mother worked at the school as a teacher too. I've told this story to so many people so many times, people might recognize me on here, but whatever. If you don't know what a yard supervisor is, we're the people who stand in the lunchroom or on the playground during recess and make sure everyone is behaving. Basically, glorified babysitters. I was the youngest of my coworkers, since the others who worked there were women who had kids that attended that school. For some background, this school was in the rich part of town, the kind of elementary school situated in a nice suburban neighborhood where everyone has a Cadillac SUV and maybe a BMW, Mercedes, or Tesla as their second car. And they loved to try to solve all their inconveniences with lawyers. I always thought it was a stereotype that the rich people in town would threaten you with their lawyers when they didn't get what they wanted. Most of the time, they were bluffing though. Anyways, among the fourth graders at this school, there was this kid named Hannah. Honestly, don't remember, but her name may have actually been Hannah. I doubt it matters though. She was your classic playground bully. Notorious liar. Loved to pick on anyone smaller than her, which, considering her size, there were plenty of kids for her to choose from, and had quite the temper. She was also supposed to be in 5th grade, but had been held back a year, and she had this other girl named Sierra as her crony. Hannah always initiated the trouble and would boss Sierra around to do her bidding. She would even turn on Sierra occasionally. One time, I witnessed Hannah shove Sierra, and then run up to me telling me Sierra shoved her. Sierra, getting mad, would then shove Hannah, and at this point I'd send them both to the principal's office, and to my knowledge, they'd just get off with a warning. Sierra's not important to this story though. Just wanted to add that bit so you can kind of picture Hannah and her like Scoot Farkas and his crony. The situation was almost identical. None of my coworkers, including Hannah's teacher, liked Hannah. She was notorious for causing trouble and then making up elaborate lies to cover herself. Everyone knew this and had warned me when I first started the job. If you're wondering why nothing was ever done, or why this kid never got therapy, I have no idea. This was the US public education system, and also her mother was a jerk, which I'll get to later. One day I'm working in the lunchroom, and I overhear Hannah calling another student names and making them cry. Supposedly, she had also hit him, but none of us witnessed it, though we wouldn't put it past her. We remove Hannah from the table and make her sit at this table we have reserved for delinquents while we write up a note to send to the principal. At best, she would get detention, or perhaps a couple days suspension, since this is a recurring problem. The bell for recess rings, and we make Hannah stay inside and sit at the table in timeout. No recess for her that day. The rest of the story I was not here for. I was only told the rest by my coworkers the next day. Hannah, returning to class, goes to her teacher and tells her, "The young yard duty hit me and called me names." I'm the young yard duty, being 20 while my coworkers were at least in their 40s. The teacher knows she's lying and tells her to take it up with the principal, since such a claim is serious. Hannah doesn't like the principal, so she instead, after school, goes to one of the other yard supervisors and tells her the same thing. That yard supervisor was working with me in the lunchroom that day and knew no such thing happened, and tells her not to tell lies. Hannah, of course, then goes to her mom. Hannah's mom had as much as a reputation around the school as Hannah did for being just an all-around unpleasant person. Hannah's mom is also under the impression that her daughter could never do any wrong and that the school was constantly trying to pick on her. I think her claim was the school was bullying her for being fat or too pretty. It was one or the other, maybe both, since my only knowledge about this came from my coworkers. So you can probably guess her reaction when Hannah told her the story she made up. Hannah's mom, entitled Mom for now, goes straight to the school principal, starts yelling at the principal, and demands legal action be taken. The principal, having been already notified of Hannah's behavior in the lunchroom that day, and being well acquainted with both Hannah and Entitled Mom's behavior, told Entitled Mom the real story. Entitled Mom insists I must have actually done this, and that she's been bullied this entire time at school, and that saying Hannah did these things must be me trying to cover my butt, and that I must be on a power trip or something. She demands a lawsuit against me and wants me in the office to face her. I had already left work for the day, and the principal was under no obligation to call me and didn't care to entertain Entitled Mom with her antics anyway. The principal then tells her if I did do these things, then she should file a police report. Entitled Mom agrees, but this is where Hannah snaps. For some reason, perhaps just the way police are portrayed to kids as these heroes who will find you out, Hannah is terrified of the thought of having to talk to the police. So finally Hannah starts crying and spills that she made it up, and that nobody had hit her, and that she was just mad about missing recess for a timeout. Entitled Mom, of course, now believes Hannah had been coerced into admitting this, because why would her little angel lie? Entitled Mom storms out of the office, claiming she'll still get her lawsuit, and that's the last I hear about her. No lawsuit ever came, thankfully, because I know my broke college butt would never be able to afford it. Many of my coworkers told me that they've had lawsuits threatened on them from various parents aside from Entitled Mom, but they never came to anything. It was almost a game for how many lawsuit threats you could get during your time at that school. One of my coworkers, before she ended up being fired for a claim Hannah made against her, that's another story. Principal didn't get a choice in it, and our school board, which was also just crappy in more ways than one, decided she had too many claims against her and that she should be let go, taught me a great quote from that ordeal. The bad apple doesn't fall too far from the bad tree. Have you ever dealt with bullies when you were in school? Please leave me a comment letting me know. Next we've got, when Karen used disabled students against me, she didn't expect this. Back in 2003, when unemployed, I decided to volunteer at a local education facility that specializes in helping out young to late teen kids with Down syndrome or high levels of autism, which causes themselves to be antisocial. I hate not being able to work, so volunteering not only got myself out of my boring, doing nothing everyday schedule, but also gave me a positive when applying for work. Everyone likes someone who is always trying to better themselves. It is a great place with some great people who also volunteer, and the kids are imaginative and show love unconditionally. The local community was also amazing, donating items, clothes, food, and money to help keep the facility running. Just shy of 2 years later, after many people coming and going, Karen appears. At first, she has a nice smile and is accommodating. The kids seem to love her a lot, until the jealousy started. Karen didn't understand for the last 2 years I had been doing volunteering, even when doing part-time jobs I could find, so she assumed I was just recently new. So when the kids always came to me to give hugs and tell me what they did that day and show off their art, well, Karen didn't like this, and she was jealous of my popularity with everyone. This started a spate of things happening. I was a smoker at that time. Not anymore, have quit since 7 years ago. Best thing ever. So a rule was to make sure lighters, matches, and cigarettes were locked away in lockers at all times. This included medication, mobile phones, anything that could be a bad thing in the wrong hands. Although the kids would tell anyone that something that was sitting out in the open that shouldn't be there was there, and we would put them away. But this one day, Karen had gone to the manager/HR administrator to say that I had left my cigarettes out with my lighter, an electronic one, which was unique. I was busy that day, so I was apologetic, as I could have easily forgotten, as you are kept off your feet constantly. but in the back of my mind, I had a doubt that I'm sure I put them in my locker. Over 4 months, every 2 to 3 weeks, something else was left in the open, or a door to the cleaning closet was left open after I had used the equipment inside. Each time, Karen had went to the manager/HR to talk about this. Karen has kids of her own that left after they hit 18, so at the time, I'm putting it down to automatic motherly defensiveness for the kids. The following month, one of the girls, we'll call her Jo, not her real name, had burst into the room crying, and her nose was bleeding. All the volunteers, including myself, instantly went to check up on Jo. She is looking flustered. Looking at me and gave a big yell, she ran off to hide. When Jo was flustered or upset about something, she would always hide, but she always came to me first to say why, or to hint at why, but this time she didn't. And then Karen burst in. "How could you do this to Jo?" Devil eyes peering at me. I am taken aback. "What? Who? What do you mean? What happened to Jo?" She replied, "I can't believe I just watched you 5 minutes ago sock her in the face." And she rushed off to the manager/HR. I'm standing there, unsure of what the heck is going on. Jo in the corner somewhere behind boxes, crying her eyes out. Some new volunteers are looking at me as if I'm bad, and the other kids looking perplexed because I've never done this at all before. Even with Down syndrome, they understand most of what is going on around them. Manager comes in quickly, looking angry, which is understandable hearing what Karen told her. Asked me why I did this. This shocked me hard because here's the manager who's known me for the last 2.5 years and instantly thought I could do something like that. I deny it, of course. I have been in the room for at least 25 minutes. The others couldn't corroborate, as we are always busy and we don't notice small things like who is in the room and for how long. The manager goes to Jo and asks her. She looks at me and instantly sobs her heart out again and says with a stammering, "Yes." This hit me harder than the manager instantly thinking I could do this. Jo has been like a little sister who would tell me everything and always came to me when in trouble. So police were called, everyone given information. Jo was too scared, still in her place of hiding, so I was effectively let go pending an investigation. Hardly anyone gets reinstated after any type of investigation, but Jo's parents were seemingly at a loss for words and didn't think I could do this, and after talking to Jo on their own, they dropped charges. But the damage was done, and I was asked to never come back. Later found out that Karen and her jealousy was telling other newer volunteer staff that I was always breaking rules and leaving dangerous stuff about. She had watched me at my locker, digital number keypad type, and saw my pin for the locker and left things about, including the lighter and cigarettes, all because the kids would always come to me. Fast forward to 2009, after lots of rejections from other places for volunteering, one place was run by an ex-volunteer who knew this was all BS and gave me a chance. She was great and understanding. We would help all types of people in the community to do events for charities, etc. I enjoyed it very much. One day, the boss came to me and said, "Oh, guess who is coming with kids today?" Karen. Since years back, Karen has moved up the ranks, so to speak, and had, through some rumors, forced the manager to quit. So wanted the ex-volunteer who ran this place to help the kids put on a play so she can show it off to a regional director who helps fund the facility I used to volunteer at. Oh boy, oh boy. Luckily, Karen never gets to see me. She talked to the person who runs the place I'm at now. Everything is arranged, and the kids would come twice a week for 5 months to work on and rehearse their play they would put on. Sort of real-life situations that they meet in their lives and how to overcome them. And of the eldest kids is Jo. She sees me and rushes over to me and hugs me, crying at the same time, saying, "Sorry, sorry, sorry," about what seemed like forever. I patted her head and said it's okay, because I know she was coerced into it. It fit the scenario. Jo told me everything she could about Karen. She had socked Jo, told her to blame me. She wouldn't. Then she got socked again, the same spot. This time with a threat to tell it was me, or she would never come back here and go to the bad place, which was a publicly funded place, which isn't really good. Light bulb moment. Real life situation and how to overcome them. I got in touch with Joe's parents, and they were so apologetic because Joe told them everything, and they tried to tell the manager slash HR before, but she put it down to Joe isn't sure and just wanted me back. So I told them of the play, and if we could introduce Joe's experience with Karen as part of the play. They were hesitant at first, but after a couple of hours, I got a text on my phone. Yeah, go for it. Take that lion jerk down. So months go by. Joe knew not to tell anyone about the play. It was a secret. Then it was time for the big night. Room is packed. Other groups did their choirs, plays, artistic dances. It was a great night. I looked through the thick wine curtains at the stage to see Karen, looking all pleased with herself next to the director. Apparently, this was make or break for Karen. Please the director, get the manager position, which was a paid position and not volunteer. She was temporary manager and being paid, but this would solidify it. Then the kids came on. Each group did their own things. They were amazing and people were enjoying it. Some jokes here and there that we helped the kids remember. Then Joe was last, a solo performance. Joe stood on the stage and in her best voice, "My Time at the Facility" by Joe. I'm watching Karen through the curtain and she's looking perplexed, forcing a smile at the director who was loving it and was paying super attention to all the kids. Who wouldn't be if you are funding them? So I stepped to the side of the curtain, and then eventually Karen's eyes met my face, and I cheekily waved. And then her face became one of massive concern. Joe put on an amazing performance, and the piece de resistance was her solo part about Karen. In the dark, with a light shining on Joe for dramatic effect, she mimicked what happened to her that day. "That hurt me, Karen. Why did you do this to me? You did this to me, not OP." Then she covers her nose again. "No, Karen, don't do it again. I don't want to leave here. I will do it." She stands up straight from her crouched position and says, "Karen told me to lie and say OP did this, or I would go to the bad place." The director's face was unforgettable. He sat with his jaw literally hanging down and mouth agape. Karen was looking at me, at Joe, at the director back and forth, and you could see her trying to figure out something to save herself. I just walked backstage. Job done. Later I high-fived Joe and told her good job, you were amazing. She gave me the biggest, cheesiest grin with a thumbs up. Made me tear up. Karen blamed me for obviously making Joe say all these things, and police were called again. But my boss didn't take her side, of course, and allowed me to remain. For years, Karen would always serve me up some weird summons to court for one thing or another. I would go and she wouldn't, so I automatically win. One of the girls who was at the facility when I was there was Meg. Again, not real name. She was bullied by Karen to say stuff about me, but Meg would say no every single time. Meg's parents gave her a bear she called Barry the Bear. Barry was special. It had a camera. So she would have the bear, and if anything bad...
We are working on just getting some ISK up to work on the gas meter. The gas meter is, I need 2 miners, which is about 3 mil like to upgrade this. But upgrade the gun cell to lasers. Finish outfitting death mask. We have the lasers on here. I just need to figure out what to put here and probably gonna put I don't know, probably some capacitors. And then the next goal would be these are just there to be there. Use them for like small missions. But end goal is to if you're gonna let me it is not working. But anyways, I'm gonna build one of these. This battle cruiser. It's gonna take a minute to get the parts. But also I want to. There's a few ships that I want to build. Got the Astro for the scavenging and exploring. Buzzard for Coast Guard ops. And then battle the cheetah because I think it's cool. So back. Personal assets. Johns are back in. Let's go. There's a few builds. I'm gonna build this destroyer. Like most of these ships are somewhat in my means. This one's
that happens, she knew to press the bear's paw to start recording. But unfortunately, Meg lost her battle with MS March of last year, and they were going through her things, and the father found Barry the bear and remembered why they got it. They went through what was recorded. Now back then, things like this did exist, but were heavy and expensive, and without much storage. Well, Joe was playing with Barry the bear as Meg allowed her to play with him. They were good friends. Joe must have accidentally pushed the paw to start the recording, and on the recording you could hear Karen in the background, the threats, etc. So Meg's parents told me about this, and that started me down the legal route to finally get Karen for good. It resulted in going to court, and after a day, they found Karen guilty. She was banned and fined $50,000 and was to pay damages to me, Joe, and Meg's parents. Unfortunately, the stigma I received back then never did go away, and I can't still go back to the facility to volunteer even after the truth. But that is okay. I'm currently going to start another new job and will volunteer at weekends. But I know that Karen and her ambitious jealousy is now having the worst time ever. Everyone in the community knows what she did, and she has become a bit of a recluse and hardly ventures anywhere. Next we've got, I made the mistake of wearing a bright red hoodie to Target. This happened to me over the weekend, so the dialogue is just the gist of what happened. I don't have as good of a play-by-play memory as some people. I had stopped by Target to grab some snacks on my way home to watch the NFL playoff games. I was on my phone trying to find out what kind of chips and stuff people would want when I got approached by a lady asking what section buns were in. She asked nicely, said, "Excuse me," and all that, so I gladly helped her. Didn't cross my mind that she might have come up to me because she thought I worked there. After she left, I went back to my phone, kinda aimlessly looking between chips on the shelf, and read it while I waited for someone to message back. That's when I realized my error in clothing choices. Another lady in the aisle, this one with her kid and less courteous, had walked up closer to me while I was helping the other. After I went back to my phone, she started to clear her throat while standing uncomfortably close. I thought maybe I was in her way, so I just sort of sidestepped and went about my day. Mind you, I'm holding a red basket this entire time. This apparently was the most disrespectful thing this woman had ever seen because it sent her off the rails. Karen, who do you think you are ignoring me? Me, excuse me? Karen, I've been waiting patiently for you to help me, and you're just on your phone texting on the clock. Then you're just gonna decide to help some random who walks up to you before me? I'm taking this to your manager. She then proceeded to snatch the phone from my hand, throw it in her purse, and start to walk off, all while dragging her kid behind her, who's doing his best to make himself invisible. I ran in front, stretched my arm out, and demanded she give me back my phone. I told her I don't work here, and if she doesn't, I'll be happy to go find a manager for her. Karen, I'll give it back to you after you get a manager. This is unacceptable. Nee, ma'am, I seriously do not work here. Please give me my phone. Karen, manager first. Me, fine, forget it. Follow me. We then proceeded to walk to the front, all while she was giving her kid a lecture about how important it is for him to always be respectful to others. My eyes still hurt from how hard I rolled them. Soon as we got to the front help desk, I asked them where a manager was. They pointed out a guy in a button-up shirt I'll call Bob. Me, excuse me, sir. This woman has stolen my phone and refuses to return it. Do you know who I can talk to about theft? Bob, I'm sorry. What? Karen, this employee is lying. I caught him slacking off on his phone and refusing to help me. She then proceeded to go on and on about never being able to find anything and how no one here is helpful while she handed my phone to Bob. Bob, sir, is this your phone? Me, yes. She snatched it out of my hands, put it in her purse, and walked away. Who can I talk to about theft? Bob, I can have someone escort her out. But we have a courtesy officer in the store if you would like me to find him. Me, that's fine. Kicking her out would be enough. Karen, escort me out? For what? He wasn't doing his job. Bob, ma'am, this man does not work here. I'm going to have to ask you to leave. You took a customer's personal belongings. She began to make even more of a scene, alternating between trying to apologize to me, yelling insults at the manager motioning her toward the door, and yelling about how they can't kick her out and that she had a right to be here. I felt bad for her kid, but I really wasn't in the mood to have my phone stolen. And shoutouts to our re-generals of the day. It's Olivia, Moonbeam Butler, and Zifty Panda. Become tomorrow's re-generals by leaving as many re's as you can in the comments below. And please listen to my playlist every night when you go to sleep. Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen and her brads think our pool is a community pool. After that, I got fired and went after the boss's money, hotel, and his marriage. And after that, your car was towed, and now I'm kicking you out. Now I just got off the phone with Karen, and she told me that if this video gets 1,000 likes, she won't try using anyone else's pool for an entire week. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And huge shout out to our newest official members of the Re-Army, Rose Client and Liz Freeman. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Join as an official channel member today, and I'll give you a special shout out in our next video. Karen and her brats think our pool is a community pool. I used to read stories on here and think that people can't really be like that. Man, was I wrong. The cast. We've got Kane, my son. We've got Pablo and Olivia, BFF and girlfriend. We've got Jake, husband. And we've got me. We've got Christy, entitled Jerkface Mom. We've got entitled Disappointing Dad. We've got Kyle, entitled Little Jerk. He's like 11. We've got Lucy, the kid's kind grandma, and our hero. We've got Police 1, 2, and 3, and we've got the previous owner. He's not here, but he gets a phone call. It was July. We finally decided to buy a home. So we moved in right before July 4th. We were so excited because our new home has a pool, so we decided to have a pool party. It was early, around 11:30 to 11:40ish. We were still sleeping as we had a long evening the night before. Jake works for the federal government, working with veterans, and he, as well as myself, are both combat veterans. We live in a little town in Arizona that's a very well-known destination for people in summer because of the boating community. We loved the area we moved to because it wasn't far from where we lived prior, just about 2 miles from it. My son Kane had his buddy Pablo over to stay the night out in the casita, and Olivia, his girlfriend, they're all 18. Don't want to hear the OMG you let her stay over for the night. Jake, Kane, Pablo, and Olivia go to the store for last-minute stuff, ice, extra charcoal, etc. Our house is set up, so the pool is in the back. We have a shed to the left, and the casita is to the right as you're facing out of the house. We have a gate on the side. You can see through a small window in our kitchen, the garage door, and another driveway gate. I have a huge bay window in my kitchen that you can see the pool backyard, etc. Well, I hear the gate open on the side by me. I figure it's our pool guy, who we had come check the pool before the party, thinking he forgot something in the yard. I hear it open 2 more times, so I open the blinds, and I see Kyle, entitled Dad, Christy, and Lucy in my backyard, setting up our chair patio furniture and chairs out of how I have them set. Confused, I think maybe they are Jake's coworkers. They occasionally have new work studies I haven't met. So I open the slider and tell them the party isn't until 14:30. It's 12:15. They look at me confused, and this is when the craziness begins. Me. I'm sorry guys, the party doesn't start until 14:30. But, I guess, you guys are more than welcome to hang out. Entitled Dad. Where's previous owner? And who are you? Are you renting previous owner's house for the holiday? With that snarky undertone. I know previous owner, and he said we can use the pool whenever we're here. Me. Previous owner sold the house to us. I'm sorry, but we are having a party for friends and family. You guys are more than welcome to come over tomorrow, and maybe after we get to know you. He cuts me off. I'm thinking, okay, I guess they're just going to say thanks, sorry, and leave like normal people. Oh, was I wrong. Entitled Dad. Airbnb doesn't mean you own the home. Rolls his eyes. Go back inside. We're good. Me. No. You need to go ahead and get the heck out of my yard. I'm going to call the locals if you don't. Christy. No. You need to do as he says, or we will call the cops and tell them you. I'm a nice person, but I'm a jerk when I'm tired and dealing with idiots. Me. Look,